Hello and welcome to Delight and Fright. Today we are talking about wet bulb temperature with the writer-director Joe Atkinson. Welcome, Joe.
Hi,
And
hello, thank you.
it's good to have you. And below we have the lovely Luna. Sorry, the lovely Luna. Sorry for the delay, guys. Luna had a cat wrangling situation. She had to chase a little pussy. It's all good.
What Wednesday night isn't complete with chasing that pussy, right,
Yeah,
guys?
well,
Am I
gotta
right?
get that tail.
Yeah. Long story short, my cat got out. I was trying to let the dog out to go potty, so I wouldn't have any interruptions during this. And the cat decides to bolt. Oh, me too. So it's very late at night. It's about 9. It was 9 something when this occurred, and then here I was like a madman, and I noticed the time. I'm like, shit, I'm late. I'm like, cat, just to start getting everybody together. And she walked like right by my leg. I heard a meow, and I just like snatched her, and I'm like, don't you fucking dare do that again. Oh my god. Whew.
Bad kitty.
I've
Wow.
owned I've owned her since 2019, so
Oh,
that was a fright, and not a good kind of fright.
oh, not a delightful one. Oh,
No, definitely not. But I guess there would be better ways to chase pussy than this. This was not fun.
yeah, I know.
Joe,
Well,
how are you
welcome,
doing?
Um,
welcome, Joe.
Hi,
We really enjoyed the film.
thank you.
Um, what did you think, Luna? How did
It
you
was
like it?
very interesting, very dystopian, right? Very thought provoking, and I do want to get into the nitty gritty without spoiling too much for our audience because it is definitely worth a view. So, yeah.
I love the long pause to think before thought provoking, as if you were thinking at that very moment.
Yeah, I'm sorry. After my heart's still racing a million miles a second, so I'm trying to think of the word. So
Mhm.
this is gonna be fun. Trying to
Yeah,
get the adrenaline to wear off.
right. I loved it. Definitely speaks to a lot of things that we're dealing with or not dealing with today, kind of pushing to the side like, somebody else can deal with that. Yeah,
Mhm.
it'll get taken care of eventually,
Everything's gonna be
right?
fine.
Yeah.
Everything's great.
Definitely.
Global warming's not a thing. Nah,
Nah.
we're all good. We're good here.
Yeah, definitely.
So I love the camera work, the story, the acting, the characters were so well drawn out,
Thank you.
and extremely well done. Where did this kind of birth from, Joe? How did it start?
Well, the story really came about because I was teaching at a university at the time, and the university happens to have a campus in Grantham in the UK. And I was over there. This was 2019. I taught a semester over there. And while I was over there teaching, you live on campus in this British manor house. It's Hogwarts basically. So you're living there, and the students live there, and the faculty live there. So you're kind of all together for meals and everything else, and you spend a lot more time together. And one kind of theme that I heard recurring at times in just conversations and that sort of thing was just this overwhelming anxiety among younger people about climate and the future, and that stuck with me. So when I was working, I was in grad school working on my MFA in screenwriting, and I had to bring workshop pieces every semester. So the first semester, I brought this piece that was very polished, and I because I wanted everybody to think I was good. So I brought this thing that I had worked and worked and worked and worked on, and it ended up being not that great of a workshop because I almost got defensive when people had notes and that sort of thing because I'd put so much time into it. So the second semester, I had this. I sat down for like 2 days. I banged out 18 pages of just shit, and just vomited out on the page. And it was these three characters, these three college students, having to react when the climate apocalypse hit. Essentially, it was kind of coming from that those conversations at Harlexton, and It was garbage. I mean, it was the first draft of a or the first pass of a first draft done in 2 days, but there was enough of the beginning there that the workshop was great. I got fantastic feedback from my classmates, and was not defensive about any of it because I knew it was a piece of shit. So then I guess I kind of took that and I spent the next semester writing a couple drafts of it, and eventually that turned into probably I don't I mean I think we probably shot the seventh or eighth draft that I finished after I had graduated, but it was that's where it came from. That was kind of the beginning
I
idea
I
of
love that. Hogwarts goes to hell. I
well, yeah, I mean,
like
the idea was these three college students are living in a situation where, it's not the middle of we're not like years later. It's not we're not it's the very beginning. What would you do if all of a sudden the lights went out and the water stopped running and you had to figure out how to survive? Um, and because we're operating on zero budget, we were doing it in a place where we were able to say, okay, let's keep it in one location. Let's look at the micro of this situation. This isn't the day after tomorrow where we see what the president's doing. We're seeing what these three college kids have to do to figure out how to
Mhm.
survive.
And so beautifully done as well. I really loved the sound choices that you made, specifically anything of sustenance. It was very loud and in your face, like signs of life, like survival, water, food, prepping the food, the boiling of the water. All
Mhm.
of that was very loud and like at the forefront. So you knew that this was you could feel that tension, you could feel that fear of is this going to be the last time that they have
Mhm.
food or water or light fire.
A lot of
So
credit to John Robertson, who teaches sound design at the University of Evansville, where I work. I actually saw him tonight before I came on here. But yeah, he did the sound design, did an amazing job in taking those things and just like you said, just elevating them a little bit in the mix at the end, so that we made sure that it made it. I don't think we took it all the way to the point where it felt surreal or unrealistic, but it was definitely enough that you noticed it, and I think John did a fantastic job with that.
absolutely. And the camera work as well, the cinematography is so beautifully done. The camera takes on a life of its own. Like you can kind of feel it dancing around the characters at certain parts as they're contemplating things.
Well, thank you. That was Jacob Belinsky was our cinematographer on the film, and yeah, you probably may have spoken to Jake before, him being a
Yeah.
filmmaker himself. What I love about working with Jake, and Jake and I are good friends, but what I love about working with him is that if you look at the way that we shot this stylistically, it doesn't look like one of his films. The stylistically, it's very, very different, but he still
Mhm.
does this beautiful job of interpreting the things that I kind of brought to him. He's really, really good at me coming in and saying, I want to do this. And he goes, great, that's a nice idea. What if we do that and then just add this thing to it? So there's a really the two shots that I think of in the film. There's one moment where one of the characters comes walking in holding a bullet in his hand, and he walks in and he sets it down on the table. And Jake was so specific because there was one little beam of light that was reflecting on the table from one of the candles nearby. I mean, it was Fincher-esque how many takes we did to get that bullet dropped on that piece of light, like right there, so that
Wow.
because Jake just saw that in the camera and he's like he did the shot that I asked him to do. And then he's like, no, no, stand up, do it again, do it, go back, go back. And I said, why are we like that was good? And he says, look at that little piece. I was like, yes, okay, never mind. Do what he said. Just and and the other was we were setting up. There's a shot where Delia and Mark get into an argument right after everybody leaves, and I told Jake, I was like, I'm gonna work with the actors, but this is the master shot I want you to do. You create the master, and so I get him. He starts setting up, and I go over and I start working with the actors, and he goes, Joe, come here, come here, and I'm like, no, hold on, I'm talking. He's like, no, 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 come here. And I walk over and he's got them framed so that they're on either sides, and there's this pillar by the kitchen that's dividing the two of them as they have their first real like on camera argument. And I was, it seems like an obvious thing or something, but he saw that and just was like, dude, this is fucking cool. You got to see this. And it was. I mean, like I showed him that shot, and Brody Ray, who played Eric in the film, wasn't in the scene but was on set, and he came walking behind and he's like, "What do you guys? Oh shit!" Jake just has that ability to take those little moments that,
Just make it sexy.
yeah, just makes it 10 times better. But like the kinds of things that he doesn't do, the long takes that we did in this film. Like if you look at his films, he doesn't have a lot of those. And there were times I think he wanted to murder me because I would call him the night before a shoot and be like, "Hey, I had another oneer," and he was, "Fuck you." But he just did such an amazing job with all of them. He just fantastic work.
So Joe, most Heat movies are set in like dry, rusty kind of desert environments. Yours felt very humid. How did you challenge the visual tropes of quote unquote hot movies to make the air feel heavy and wet?
We really, I'll tell you, a lot of the credit, I mean, a lot of it goes to Jake and just the way that he did the color temperature. After we talked a lot before we shot the film about what we wanted to do with the color and the way that we wanted to bring in more warm, oranges and reds and that sort of thing as the movie got hotter. So you're not changing location, you're still in this very human space, but everything down to the moonlight just gets a little bit more orange or yellow or red as the film goes on. So there was that piece of it that I think he did a fantastic job with, but also Violet Nasri, who did the makeup effects in the film,
Yes.
just made them look disgusting. They just did an amazing job of making these actors look like they were sweaty and gross and hadn't showered in a month. And
They could have just came to Florida. I mean, we got that swamp just natural.
Oh my god.
what's amazing is in the first half there's an outdoor kind of most of a day, most of one of the segments, the film's divided into 4 chapters, and most of chapter 2 is done outside, and that was done in the dead heat of summer. So there was, I mean, it was 90 something degrees outside, and the sweat, some of the sweat was real and some of it was Vaseline, but all of it was, but we shot the last parts of the film in October, and it was 30-40 degrees outside. And so when we shot chapter 4, most of it, and the beginning of chapter 3 where the neighbors show up, that was in October, and Violet had to make them look every bit as gross and every bit as disgusting, while in some cases we were shivering between takes.
I bet.
So that's just a testament to the work that they did. But Violet did such an amazing job. But I think those were the 2 things that we really tried to do to kind of build that swampy, gross, hot feeling while still existing in this space that is very human and very, normal.
Yeah. Now we've seen a record-breaking heat domes recently in lovely 2026. Well, we haven't, but 2025 was a little rough.
Yeah, there were some moments there. Yeah.
How much did real-time climate data influence the realism of your script?
I think more than anything, the timeline of it was affected by it, because while I was writing this, I remember showing an early draft of the first half to my wife, who read it and said, "This wouldn't happen this quickly. Like, this is really fast for things to just fall apart." And, I took that into consideration, was starting to kind of mess with the timeline. And then there was that moment where the power grid in Texas, because of the heat, just went away. And after a couple of days, things were starting to kind of go to shit. And I was like, maybe I don't need to lengthen the timeline. Maybe I need to shorten it. Like maybe it's taking too long. So I think that was the kind of place where we saw those sort of real world, those things kind of impacted the script while I was writing, was that you would see little hints of these things, happening and go, oh, we turn into assholes real fast.
If we aren't already.
Right. Yeah. I mean,
it
comes out from that. It's closer to the surface than maybe we realized before. So yeah, I think it was probably that more than anything that influenced it. I mean, the stuff that happened, 2025, 2024, the film was written and mostly shot at that point. So we didn't have that. But yeah, the fact that it does get a little bit hotter every year definitely was an impact.
Yeah, I really like 2 things with the visuals and the sound. Sorry, I made some notes for myself because
It's okay.
so many notes. So I'm like kind of looking at my notes over here. So, can you talk about how you use ambient sound to create the sense of claustrophobia in wide open spaces? Because that was like pretty interesting that I've noticed.
Interesting. Do you have specific thoughts? See, I mean, I can definitely talk about the outdoor stuff and what we did there. The indoor. I'd be curious to see which part struck you.
Um,
If not, I can ramble, and I'm fine with that too.
there's just too many to name, but I somewhere it was like towards the middle where they're
Mhm.
like walking, and then there's like an open space, but you know.
Yep. No, we really wanted the outdoor to feel as empty as possible, and that came in the sound design, and it came in everything else. In fact, we do have one take where we had to put in a little digital zoom because of another human being showed up in the shot, and we didn't realize it until after we finished. Where this guy was just out taking a walk, and we were like, "Son of a bitch!" when we noticed it.
How dare
We,
he?
I know, on a public street. Ugh.
Yeah.
So we had to do like a little
Humans.
push in to remove that guy from the shot, and I won't tell you where it was, but so there were things like that, but we really wanted that. So that, I think the outdoor, we really wanted to play with that sound of nature and the wind design and the chirping and all of those things that came with outdoors, birds chirping and insects at night and all of those things, and I think some of the sounds. I think about Brody picking up the packets of food at the end and that sort of thing, just crinkling. Some of those sounds really to kind of escalate that space. Indoor, we really wanted to build the claustrophobia through. I think the lighting does that to some extent, makes it
Mhm.
feel. The I think we used all of the candles in southern Indiana on this film to light it. Um, but I think some of the lighting played into that, but also again, John played a little bit with sort of the echoes in that indoor space, just to make it pop just a little bit more and feel a little bit tight and a little more claustrophobic. I couldn't tell you how he did it. He'd have to do that. But yeah, I was lucky to have a really, really good team that when I was like claustrophobic,
Yeah.
they were like, we know what to do. So
And I've seen, we've both seen many doomsday films, right? But I don't think I've ever seen one that felt this intimate. Where did you kind of feel that as well, Luna? I really loved
Oh
how
yeah, yeah. Especially the part that kind of made me uncomfortable is that I could see the humidity, and I'm not one for humidity, and I'm just like get it off my body, you know?
I
well,
So
will.
we could see them being struggling to breathe, and then
Mhm.
yeah,
we were having issues breathing watching it. So
I'm just like, ugh.
well done.
We'll pass it along
Yeah.
to Violet and Jake.
I
They did
in
amazing.
regards to that, Joe, because we could see through the film that the actors were kind of struggling. I mean, that's good acting, I know, but
Yeah.
did the production actually face extreme conditions? Like for Titanic, they had to put them in a bathtub and a cold bathtub with ice and stuff like that
Nope.
to make the shivering. Did they face any extreme conditions while filming, or was there a moment in during this where the art became too real for the cast and crew?
No, I think the actors were just doing a really good job. We
Oh,
didn't.
that's
We did.
awesome.
I mean, like I said, when we were shooting chapter 2, it was hot as hell outside. It was. I mean, I don't think we cracked 100, but we were in the 90s. It was pretty warm out there. I mean, there was a point where we were the actress who played Alana, the neighbor who came in. We were like, can we give you more sunscreen? Can we please give you more sunscreen? Like, I think you're going to burn just being here right now. Can we please give so? But that was about as close as it came to being extreme conditions. Like I said, it was cold in October when we were shooting those chapter 4 outdoor scenes. It was very cold. So yeah, no, I think that a lot of that. There was one point where Brody, who played Eric, was turned out he had a bronchial infection,
Oh,
and we knew he wasn't feeling well. And are you sure you're good? Are you sure? He's like, yeah, no, and he did an amazing job. One of my favorite scenes, which is where he and Owen sit on the front porch and have a conversation about what they're going to do next, and it ends up you start to kind of get Owen's backstory near the end of chapter 2. Brody was sick when we were shooting that, and putting a coat on after every scene, and that's it's one of his best acted scenes. I wanted to send him home, and he was like, no, we're doing this now. We only have so many days. We only have the set
Nice.
for so long.
It's like, I'm going to use it.
We're doing this now. And he used it. And it's like, when I'm editing it, you don't like humidity, Luna. I don't like watching TV shows or movies or anything where anybody is sick. I have the hardest time, like on a TV show, if somebody's got a cold, I'm like, I'm going to watch this, but I don't want to. You know, like
Yeah.
I don't want to lose things that I'm going to want to need for the next episode, but also stop. Um, and editing that was like that because, you know, every time in between lines and everything, Brody, and you know, but again, if you watch that scene, you'd have no idea. And he's phenomenal in it.
So how
Yeah.
did you go about casting? How did you find such great actors?
I am lucky to work at a university that has a fantastic theater program. You know, they count some pretty good actors among their alums: Carrie Preston, Rami Malek, Jack McBrayer, Ron Glass. So some really, really good alums from that theater program, and some really, really good. Well, I guess these are also now alums. At the time, they were students. The first person that I cast was Bev Buchanan, who played Delia. Bev was in one of my classes. She was a theater student, and in her freshman year was in one of my classes. And I'll never forget. She was wearing a shirt that was the three guys from Hanson, and it was a Nirvana. And so I in the middle of class, I stopped and I was like, that is not Nirvana. And I was like, and she just rattled. She's like, oh no, I know, it's ironic. Cause you know, I always, whenever I see students wearing those old shirts, like my daughter has a Nine Inch Nails shirt, and I'm like, you need to know at least 3 Nine Inch Nails songs before I'm letting you out of the house in that.
Or I take the shirt.
Right. Or I'm taking the shirt and I'm going to wear it. But, you know, so Bev was like rattling off Nirvana songs and everything else. I'm like, okay, A, you're allowed to wear that to my class. B, we should talk. So we ended up talking about music a little bit. And then, you know, I saw her acting in something and I mentioned that I was working on this, and she's like, yes, I'm in. So I ended up kind of shaping that part around Bev a little bit. Kind of the same thing happened with Brody. He was in the same class the next semester. And it was funny because he was very quiet, and it was shortly after COVID. So he was always wearing a mask. And I approached him about playing Owen, actually. And he read the script and he said, I would absolutely love to be a part of this. But Joe, I'm Eric. And I said, no, I don't. He said, will you please just let me read for it? And he and Bev were friends. And I was like, Bev, you know, Brody, she's like, let him read for it. And he sat down and he read it one time. And I was like, nope, never mind. You're Eric. My bad. You're right.
Yeah. And the dynamic between him and Delia is just amazing.
Yeah, a lot of that they brought. You know, I think there's a tension between them, and it almost it doesn't go to a romantic, but it almost feels like there's that undercurrent between them. They brought that. I never felt like that was in the script, and I started seeing it developing on set. Because the two of them are very good friends, and it was like, oh yeah, okay, it's working, so we're gonna roll with it. But they brought that themselves. We did audition for Mark and Owen. The girl who played Alana, Sarah Tuma, had actually played a small role in my previous short film. Because she had come to a call that I'd made. I was teaching a video production class, and I'd made a call for actors. And she and one other person answered very quickly. So she came and did this scene in my class with the students. And then she just said, hey, if you're ever doing anything, you know, I would love to, you know, just any opportunity that you have. So I you know, I'm doing this short film for grad school that, you know, it's a tiny little part. She's like, great, I'll be there. Tell me when. So she did that. And then she worked on this one in that role. The other two, Kara Davidson, came down from the Chicago area. She was one of my grad school classmates. And when I was writing it, I was like, hey, I'd love for you to come play this role. And to my surprise, she said, absolutely, just tell me when. And then Kevin Roach has been in almost everything that both Jake and I have ever made. He was the director of the local theater at the time. And I think I've been working with him for 10, 15 years on different things. And so is Jake. So, though the interesting, it's a small role, and we've used him in much bigger roles. This is one of my favorite things I've ever seen him do. He just kind of comes in and grounds the thing in a certain way. And he and Kara had a lot of really good nonverbal things back. Like the two of them came in and were just pros. They were terrific. So that was a longer answer to the question than you were probably looking for, but that's where casting came from.
No. We love to hear the how the creations are made.
Oh yeah, definitely. Speaking of creations, the wet bulb limit is 35°C at 100% humidity. It is a very specific scientific threshold, right, Joe?
Mhm.
So, how did you? Before this, I did not know what that was, and I looked it up, and through research, I found this. How do you know about this? Do you have like a science background, or?
No, not even a little bit. I was actually I had written a draft of the script and none of that stuff was in it. The film was actually called Hope at the time. The script was, which everybody found decidedly ironic. And I was just having a conversation with one of the other faculty in one of the residencies in grad school, and he was a fiction person, so he wasn't one of my professors or anything along those lines. But we were just having a conversation. He's a very active climate activist, but that was, he started talking to me about this concept of wet bulb temperature and what it means and all of those things, and I was like, huh. And I think somewhere along the line we were talking about titles, because I'm terrible at titling my scripts, just awful. And he was like, something that's a little bit offbeat that other people haven't heard of. He's like, that can be a good draw. I don't know if it's still to this day, like, Kara still tells me, she's like, it's called Hope, Joe. It should be called Hope, Joe. But he started talking about this concept, and I was, trying to find a way to organically work it into the script as I was writing. And, it landed at the beginning of the second half of the film. And then, you get this nice little joke about the environmental studies class that pays back to the beginning of the film. And I was like, yep, nope, that's where it lands. There was one point where I mentioned it one too many times. And I remember in a table read, we got done and all the actors left. And Jake and Emily, who was his partner and was the assistant director on this, the three of us were sitting there. We produced these things together. And I looked at Jake and I was like, I said wet bulb temperature one too many times. He was like, yes, that was my first note. I was like, yeah, I need to cut it this time. And he went, yes, you need to cut it that time. And we did. We cut it out. And instead, it's just Brody says something along the lines of, instead of saying, until wet bulb temperature, he just kind of goes, it just goes on until, and he just stops. I was like, just stopping works. That's actually good enough. So that was how I learned about it. It was just a random conversation after a lecture in grad school.
Nice. I mean, and I love that. Like, when you make them wait for it. Like, what's the title mean? What does it mean?
Yeah.
Oh, they said it. Oh, I know what it means now.
Yeah, it pops up. And I love the fact that it managed to be a funny moment too. That happens, and then it makes the comment about Mark, and then the environmental studies call back like that. I like that sequence a lot, that third chapter, because it is almost like a one-act play from start to finish, where the whole thing happens in one night in real time, and I was really proud of that one.
And I love that the original title, I literally have one of my questions is just hope ? That's one of my questions, and that was the original title.
It was.
So I love that, because I wanted to ask you guys if in this situation, we'll go first with Luna. Do you think you would have hope, Luna, to hang in there, or what do you think your survival skills would be?
No, man.
No.
I had to look it up, but oftentimes in Florida we have like crazy amount of humidity and it's fucking hot, but you wouldn't be able to survive in a 95-degree weather with 100% humidity. It's fatal. I'm sorry, it's fatal and unlivable environment. So I wouldn't have any hope unless something drastic happens. But I do have a follow-up question after Joe answers about that.
Yeah, it's interesting because there's kind of that debate at the beginning of the film that I think is almost my internal debate, because you've got, one of them saying, if we ever get to that point, just fucking end it. And then the other one going, now I'm too curious. And I think that's me. I think that I don't know that I'd have hope, but I'd be too curious to not want to see what happens next. You know, it's almost that observer thing. But I want people walking out of the film questioning that. Who would I be in this scenario? You know, like is there one of
Yeah.
these characters that I would be in this scenario? Like how would I react in this scenario? And then probably go to the grocery store and start hoarding. I think those are the two
Oh gosh,
reactions that I'm going
yes.
for in this one. So, you know, you're welcome to the grocery industry.
So at its core, the movie is for me it was more about human limits.
Mhm.
When your body can no longer cool itself, the mind starts to fray. Have you ever been in a situation where you had a heat stroke or you kind of had that happen to you where you had that your mind start to fray because you're just heat exhaustion?
I don't know that I have actually. You know, my daughter is prone to passing out in heat because she plays outdoor sand volleyball outside in the summer and is sometimes averse to drinking enough water. So you know that you know that's happened once or twice. But I don't know that I've ever been in that situation. I've always handled the heat surprisingly well. Now that I've said that, you know, I will probably have one of those moments. I have wondered. I did a half marathon not this past year, but the year before, and there were times that I was training where it was much hotter than it should have been when I was running long distances, which is why I'll probably never do one again because as much as I like the training and the shape that I was in and that sort of thing, there was also that if you wake up on a 90-degree day and you're scheduled to run 10 miles, you're going to wake up and you're going to fucking run 10 miles. And I don't like having that. Like, you know what? I can just do it next week. It's going to be fine. It'll be cooler. So yeah, I think there were times on some of those runs that maybe I was starting to lose it a little bit.
But that's why you signed up for the virtual runs.
There you go. That's the right answer.
Do it in your
That's
AC.
the treadmill runs. There you go.
Yeah, just run on your treadmill with the AC. Perfect.
Yeah.
But I felt
there were
though
days.
I really loved a lot of the lines in this film. And I feel personally, because I'm just that type of person, like I'm used to because one of the lines is people are going to go with the path of the least resistance. And
Mhm.
then she believed there's always hope. And then there's we can't survive as an island, right? So
Mhm.
I kind of believe that all of those things can be true at the same time.
Mhm.
And I'm the type, like I'm used to things having resistance. In my life, like just everything's been resistant. So I'm just like, I don't think I would take the easy way out. But
Right.
I think once things got to, I would try to bring other people in and work together and try to maintain hope. But again, I don't know how much hope I would have.
Right.
Luna, what do you think your survival like techniques are? Like how resourceful would you be in this situation? Like what would you have to give to the cause? If you were, you know, that girl in the film
Uh,
coming up for help
I
from someone
I
else.
would get some Bear Grylls action going on and just start drinking your pee.
Nice. Okay.
That is an
I
option.
mean, you're out of
Daryl,
water.
you like the taste.
No, we're not. We're not R. Kelly here. It's just I don't know. I saw it on a show once, and Bear Grylls was like, "You could drink your own urine." Thanks.
For how long though? I
I
don't
don't know. I don't. Maybe I should phone him.
Like a whole Better Call Saul episode built around that too, I think. But you know, yeah.
Ooh,
Nice.
you got some homework to do. Well, that was just for jokes, for funsies, but I don't know. I would probably figure out. Okay, this is gonna sound really macabre, but I would find out which one of my neighbors are already dead and loot them and
Yes.
try to build up because they're dead. They're not gonna need their shit.
Exactly.
So just kind of strategically at night, you know, go hoard, and then in the daytime try to just stay as cool as possible out of the sun and just with your
or
hoard
we
of
could
shit.
drop off candles and like depressing books at each door and just hope they take care of things.
Oh god.
That's no copies of the road.
I mean that's one way to do it.
Yeah.
I'm all about the looting. I'm all about the looting, the dead, you know. They won't miss that shit. We're good.
But when you run out of people to loot, what do you do then?
Move into a new neighborhood. Rinse,
Traveling.
repeat. Traveling in the middle of the night to, you know, try to
Right? We don't have
mitigate some of
zombies
the
to worry about
sweating and shit. Yeah.
yet.
Yeah. Oh god. So Joe, to me, climate cinema can often feel very like doom scrolling, like you're doom scrolling a movie.
Mhm.
How did you balance? But with your movie, I didn't really have that sense, that feeling. How did you balance the terrifying reality of the science with the narrative that people actually want to watch?
Well, I'm kind of surprised you didn't feel like the film was like doom scrolling, so that I'm gonna take that as a compliment. But you know, I think that it's that humanity in the characters, right? Like you're not watching a situation, you're watching people react to that situation, and you're watching these characters that you have to come to care about, and you have to come to care about them pretty quickly. And so I think that there's that. You know, there were moments where I was like, did I throw too much into this? Because they have this kind of rich backstory among the characters that I'm not going to talk too much about, but you know, they have this kind of shared traumatic experience in their past as well. That there were times that I was like, is that too much? Am I throwing too much in there? But I think that it grounds those characters as real people, that they have this past, that they went to high school together, that you know, they have some shared history. So I think that piece of it might have been part of what helped to ground it. The other is, I think that there are parts of the movie that are sneaky funny. There's these kind of like little moments of humor in these really dark moments, that again, I at times was asking Jake or other people. I was like, what is that joke? Do I need to pull that joke? And there's a specific one toward the very end of the film, um, involving handcuffs, that I was like, is that too dark of a moment to go to that place? And everybody that I talked to was like, no, dear God, we need that laugh right there. Like that laugh has to be there. Um, Otherwise, the movie's almost too dark. I was like, okay, all right, cool. So I think it was kind of a combination of those things, just that grounding in the characters, um, coupled with just those little bursts of probably very dark humor.
Definitely. Now, I did want to ask, was there a survival myth that you debunked while researching for the film? Like, you know, oh, do this and you'll survive, and it ended up being a myth. Did you uncover something like that?
Actually, no. I think that you know, I've tried to take this from the perspective of, for the most part, people who haven't put a lot of thought into this. You know, and you do have one character who has, and who spent a fair amount of time in it. But I think that, you know, to me, the key to the story, and the thing that I really wanted to bring across was the debate or the question between, you know, is this going to be an every man for himself situation, or is this going to be a thing where humanity comes together? And that sort of push and pull between those two things, to me, was the core of the story, and the core of like which of these things would help us survive. And I don't know that the one that helps us survive and the one that's the most realistic to happen are necessarily the same thing. Um, but yeah, I don't know if I did a very good job answering your question, but that's but no,
No, yeah, thank you.
the big
Thank you.
answer
That
would
was
be no.
awesome.
I don't think
And
that.
I love how you don't spell it out for us. Like you give us the option to decide what we want to believe. And I'm
Mhm.
always a fan of films that do that, that don't sugarcoat things and simplify it, you know, placate us. So
I
I really enjoyed it.
Thank you. I'm glad. I am not smart enough to think, or I'm not vain enough to think that I'm smart enough to have the answers on these questions. I like to kind of put these things out there and say, hey, this is something that could happen. Let's think about it. You know,
Mhm.
I don't know what the answer is. I
Yeah.
don't. And that sometimes infuriates my wife when she reads the things that I write. She's like, "What happens to them?" I'm like, I don't know. What do you think happened to them? I didn't
Mhm.
write it. I'm like, I don't know. What do you think happened to them? I don't know. I don't know. I did at one point on this one. I had a friend of mine ask me at the end, like, what do you think's the next thing that happened? And I told her, and she was like, I'm glad to talk about that with you. Don't ever answer that question again. If anybody else ever answers that question, she's like, that needs to just sit out there for people. Yeah, you're probably right. I probably shouldn't have answered it when you asked it either. So never mind. Okay. So that was a conversation that happened at one point. She was like, don't ever answer that question again. Okay.
So you know how some films are in 4D and sometimes they pump like scent in the theater
Right.
to like get you kind of in the film. So if this movie was in 4D, other than sweat, what would be the scent?
There went my answer.
Yeah, other than sweat, what would people smell?
I think it depends on where we are in the film. I mean, I think inside you're going to get that kind of smoky, fiery, candle scent. The mixed scent of 1,000 candles, which is what we smelled the entire time we were shooting the movie. We'd have to stop every once in a while and open the doors just to let some of the candle smoke and scent out. And it was always startling because we shot during the day for night sequences, so we had the windows blacked out, and so we'd open the door, and we're feeling like we're living in the middle of night, and you'd open the door and it'd be bright sun and it's noon, and we're like, what the fuck? Like it was destabilizing, like in that way they talk about those you go to Alaska and those 24-hour days and 24-hour nights and that sort of thing, and it just is completely just mentally fucks with you. That's what it felt like was happening with us. So I think inside it probably smells like that. Outside, I think you're smelling nature, you're smelling grass, you're smelling, and it's thick. The air is always whatever it is, it's thick with that humidity.
And I'm sure the curing area did not smell very great.
No, that would not smell very good at all. That would smell like dead animals. So there is that.
Let's
But
not
also-
get smell-o-vision
also-
on that.
I know I'm not allowed to say it, but also sweat. It would smell like sweat.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
true. I guess, yeah.
Thank God.
You're
that
right.
was correct.
I didn't say sweat because I knew that was going to be an easy answer.
Almost the
so I'm
obvious. Yeah, right. Yeah, jumps
I'm
right
like,
out. Right
don't
out.
say sweat because we
And I
want
almost
a
feel like-
creative.
That's still because of the work that Violet did there. It almost jumps off at the screen at you anyway. It's not in smell-o-vision, but it almost feels like it is sometimes.
Yeah.
Because of the work that they did. Like Violet just did such an amazing job of making them look absolutely awful. That was one thing that Kara told me when she was like, "Do I look that bad?" I'm like, no. But she was like, "I look terrible in this movie." Yeah, that was the point. So
Well
good
done.
makeup. Mhm.
So your film's going to be showing at Omaha Film Fest next
Yes.
week,
Next week,
At,
next Thursday.
5:30 p.m. Central, next Thursday, March
Yep.
12th.
Yes.
Is
So if
this
you're in
your
the
first
Omaha
film
area, come
festival?
see it. No, this is 4, I think.
Nice.
It's the 4th one. And then I think we're going to be starting to move toward distribution after this one. So hopefully everybody will be able to see it before too long.
Yay.
That's the goal, at least. We want to get it out there to as many people as possible. I think all of us are really proud of the film, and every once in a while I still get Brody is in I think Oregon, and Bev is in Texas, and I'll get texts from them like, "Hey, when can my dad watch the film?" And that sort of thing. So, like, you have a link, you can show it to your dad. It's fine.
Well,
So,
it's an
Joe-
amazing film, so
Yay.
I can't wait for everyone to enjoy it as well.
Thank you.
So as we wrap up, Joe, when the credits roll and the lights come up, what is something that you want your viewers to take away from this film?
I want them to be less than a debate. I want them to walk away wondering what would I be in this situation? Where would I land here? Like what would I do? Would I be like Owen and be trying to build a community? Would I be like Mark, trying to every man for himself? Would I be would I be Eric? Would I be Delia? Like who am I in this situation? What do I bring to the table, or what sort of philosophy would I bring into it? Because I want people to walk away thinking, it's easy to watch the big scary disaster climate movies. The Day After Tomorrow jumps to mind right away, and it's a thrill ride, and it's fun, and it's all of those things, and it's easy to kind of walk away from that one and be like, that was. I want people to walk away from this and be like, oh shit, that felt real. Like, like I want it to be a little jarring at times. And I hope it is.
Right? Art should imitate life, and this is a very real reality that either our generation or the next is going to be hit with. So
Yeah, and ours or the next or the one after that or whomever. So
it's in the cards.
it seems to be, and we seem to be attempting to get there as fast as we can sometimes.
Yeah.
So
what's in the future for you, Joe? What do you have on your plate coming up, or are we just concentrating all on this?
No, I'm a restless person. I'm the guy that actually hates the stuff that comes after you make the film most of the time. I mean, I enjoy these types of conversations, but the business side of this and all of that is not, that's not my wheelhouse. So I'm always thinking about what's the next thing or the next thing after that. I have 2 stage plays that I've written that I'm trying to kind of get out into the world. One of them is, I think, needs probably at least one more pass. The other one I've started submitting and trying to send out into the world. It's a 1-act 2-hander that I've considered adapting into a film. I'm 50-50 on it at the moment. I'm still kind of trying to figure out for sure what that next film is. It might be that one. It might be something else. And I've started working on a novel. So I try and do a little writing every day because writing is where I came at this in the first place. Directing and everything else kind of came as a way to take those things that I've written and make them into films. Because I would write screenplays and then have nothing to do with them. So the learning how to be a filmmaker kind of came from that. And thank God I met people like Jake Belinsky, who's such a wizard at helping make that happen. So yeah, it's that. It's working on with Jake on his next film and being a dad. So those are kind of the things that are on my plate right now.
Awesome. Did you have any other questions for Joe Luna?
No. The last one that I had about the overall the takeaway was that was my last one.
Fair enough. Thank you very much for having me here today.
Such a pleasure having you here, Joe.
It's been a blast talking to you. Thank you.
And we look forward to what you have coming up next. Luna, you want to show Joe how we say goodbye here at Delight and Fright?
Yes, we are big Cthulhu fans, so we got to honor our Lord Cthulhu by saying bye-bye with the technical action.
Little
technical action. Okay. All right.
Goodbye, everyone.
Goodbye, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Before we go, next week we will have, let's see, let me open our nifty calendar here. We have a special collaboration pending, but after that, we will be bringing on Chris over from the Horrific podcast, and he will be talking about his book, 2 books in particular, as well as his D&D book that he released. So that'll be so much fun.
Yay. Thank you for joining us and have a delightful evening.
Hello, boils and ghouls. It's your old pal, John Kassir, the voice of the Crypt Keeper. And I want to thank you for listening to Delight and Fright with your hosts, Luna and Cat, a podcast for outcasts.